Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today we are going to learn in this video how you can use sub or correlate query in SQL Server 2022. So let's get started with this video. Now here is the content what we are going to cover up in this video, working with the subqueries, comparing self-contained and the correlate query, or writing the scalar subquery, and writing the multi-valued subqueries, or writing correlate subqueries. So let's understand first working with the subqueries. So subqueries are nested query. So querying within the query. Suppose you have written a one query and inside you would like to use the one more query, that's called a subquery. A result of the inner query passed to the outer query. So which is the main query. Inside that result will pass out from your the inner query. So inner query act like a expression from the persistent of the outer query. Subquery can be the self-contained or the correlated, and self-contained subquery have no dependency on the outer query. Correlated subquery dependent on the value from the outer query. And subquery can be scalar, multi-valued, or the table valued. So let's understand here the self-contained query and the correlated query. So here you can see in the example the outer query select order product unique and the from value, and you use the where condition. Inside you can inject the one more query, that's called a outer query, inner query, and this is your the outer query. If you want to use inside that one more query, that is called a inner query. So inner value you can use inside here. And here is like a correlate query. So correlate query will be a correlate with your the outer query. So your inner query will be correlate from your the outer query. So what we understand from the self-contained subquery, where your inner query don't have any dependency with the outer query, and the correlate query where your outer query is having correlation with your the inner query. So inner query will be a correlation with the outer query. So that's the main difference with the self-contained and the subquery. Now, how you can write the scalar subquery? So scalar subquery return the single value of the outer query, can be used the anywhere the single valued expression is used, select where and so on. So this is the expression. Actually this is a full query what I write, and that's what we are going to use in our test lab. So here is the query. This is your the outer query till here, and this is the inside query what I use to pull the data. And if the inner query return the empty value, the result is converted to the null. So if you don't have the value, if you have the null values from sorry, if you have the empty value, you don't have the any value from the inner query, then your outer your value will be converted to the null. So construction of the outer query determine whether the inner query must return a single value. So your inner query should return a single value from this output. Now, writing the multi-valued subquery return the multiple values as a single column set of the outer query. So use the within in predicates, and if any values is the subquery result matches in predicate expression in the predicates return is a true. So this is the query example how you can use it. Till here is the select, and till here the your employee ID is your the uh, outer query, and inside I used a subquery select inside the bracket. So this will return the multiple values, but what you seen in the before that query, that was returning a single one values, and but here you have to use in. So inside this query you will get the multiple values from the inner query, and maybe also express as a join, and the task both performed. And now writing correlated subqueries, how you can write the correlated subquery. So writing inner query to accept input value from the output query, or write outer query to accept the appropriate return result, and the correlate queries by passing the value from the outer query match the argument inside the inner query. And this is the expression. So till here, till equal to the employee id, this is our the output outer query, and inside the bracket we have write a different query and the different table we used that will return the output, and that output should match with your the outer query. So inner query match should match the value with the your outer query. And now so let's move it to the our our test lab, and then we'll start the testing. So here this is my the test server, and here what I write, this is our the first query what I shows here. This is a scalar subqueries, how you can use the subquery. Let's move it to the server. So here is the subquery till here, uh, till where we have the outer query. So let's run this outer query, what the result we are getting. So we have the result, employee id, first name, last name, and the office location. So this is the table, the data is coming out from there. And from I'm going to filter, or I'm going to use the subquery inside this outer query. So what I write it, I write this query to get the values, and that will filter it out your data inside from the output. So let's see what is the value. So I am taking the maximum employee ID from this table, the employee leave. So this is the employee leave is a different table, and the employee table is a different table. And from this inner query I am taking the output, and that I'm using the inside the query. And let's see the complete value. So complete value is a I got the maximum employee ID, and that maximum employee ID is querying the data inside your the outer query, and that's what we get the output here. And here you can use only the equal to, because the single value will come out from the subqueries. Let's go back to the next. So this is a multi-valued query in the subquery, how you can write it down. So I write here a query that is let's execute this. So I have the value for all the employee, all the first name, last name, and the USA. And then I used a one more table that is called a person employee personal. And here what I'm doing is filtering which employee is having, which employee ID is using the technology that's called the SQL. If you want to see the data from this table, so let me show you. So what are the data we have here? Where is the star? Let's see the output from this data. So we have the data is employee ID, home, email ID, the technology, what are the technology is this employees is using, and how much is the experience. But what I needed, I need the SQL, how many users are using the SQL technology, and from the inner query, and that inner query data will query inside your the outer query in this value. So let's run this query and we'll see the output. So here you can see in it the SQL, how many people are using the SQL. So that is SQL is using by the employee ID 1, 3, 5, and the 6. So 101002 employee is not using the SQL technology, or they don't know the SQL technology. That's how you can use the multi-valued subquery. Now let's see the another. This is a very complicated example, correlated subqueries. So here I write the correlated subquery. How you can use it? You can use the inner query and the outer query data together. So till here what I have this data for the outer query. I write this outer query. So let me execute this, and then I have a table that is called a employee person, and this outer query data will query inside your the inner query, and both the data will merge. Let's see the output, and based on your requirement you can write the query. So here you can see the all the data, but I don't have a very complicated tables which I can show you. Here what I taken the maximum maximum employee ID, and that's why the data is not in a well mannered. But if you have the two two tables where your the multiple columns are matching, like your employee ID, and you should have the date or the other columns, and then you can easily filter and you can use the correlate query. So correlate query is something like, from here if I can show you, the select maximum value from the employee table. So this is my the another table, and this is the first table, you can say this is the second table. And what I'm doing is, where inside the where condition I'm doing the filtering with the employee ID with the another table employee ID. So that's how you can use the correlate query. So guys, I hope you have learned it well and understand how you can use the correlate and the subqueries in the SQL Server 2022. So please keep watching these videos, and thank you. I will coming soon with my the new video about the SQL Server 2022.